Hello, I'm Chris Lisserman and welcome to this Bloomberg podcast. I'm joined by special guests from the world of Bloomberg to share real stories from this global leader in business and financial information. In every episode, we focus on a different aspect of Bloomberg's work and culture. And in this episode, we're thinking about a culture of collaboration. On the podcast today, I'm delighted to be joined by Global Program Manager from the Early Careers team, Anri, Kimura, Bushby, and from Sales in EMEA, Gabi Santos. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thanks so much for having us.
How are you both?
Very well. How are
Very
you?
well, yes. Very excited to be here.
It's really exciting to have you both here. We always start with the same question on this podcast, which is why did you say yes to Bloomberg?
Would you like to go first, Gabi?
The building. No.
The building, that was the first thing.
No, I think that I researched quite well in terms of exactly what we're talking about, which is the culture. And I identified myself a lot with what are the principles of the company, how everyone works together. Exactly what we're talking about in terms of collaboration is what drove me here. And it's been working so far.
Fantastic. And what about you, Anri?
For me, it's pretty much same with what Gabi is saying, but it's just that the moment that you walk into the office, the culture, you literally feel it.
Yeah.
And then I know your question is why I said yes to Bloomberg, but through my interview process, it was really more around Bloomberg, please say yes to me. So I'm really glad that I'm here. But yeah, it's just the culture, the people that you can work with, and you can feel that from how we operate here.
And you said you feel it walking in the culture.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
Yeah, so I think in order to explain for me for that, I think it's very important for probably audience to know my background. So I'm born and raised in Japan. I studied my career in Bloomberg in Tokyo office. For me, when I was looking for a job, I needed some sort of a global environment. And when I say global, it's not just about the language perspectives, but like how the companies operate. And then growing up in Japan, I always felt a little bit out of place. But when I actually walked into Bloomberg, I felt like immediately sense of belongingness. And it was great. One, the fact that I can utilize both English and Japanese, but also the way that people are working with. And then even through the interview process, Bloomberg really wanted to know who you are. And in a lot of the different interviews that I've gone through, they really wanted to kind of ask me more around how you're going to fit in. But it wasn't that case in Bloomberg. Bloomberg was really valuing the diversity and what you can actually bring on the table, how that adds value to the company. And then that was a major part for me. And that was over nearly 13 years ago. And then that hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in terms of when you enter and you feel the culture, it's different from any other companies that I've seen because the whole collaboration or working together or fitting in the company, you see that from the moment you enter the building, from how the building is designed. So you see that there are no, your boss is not going to have a different room than you are. Everyone is sitting together. Everyone is talking together. If you want to speak with a manager, that is completely fine. You can just send them a message and speak to them and they're going to give you the time, which is really impressive because me being in the company for, I think, 3 years now, I have conversations with people that have been here for 30, 35. And it's really impressive how they are actually willing to give the time for you and just to share the knowledge. And you never feel out of place. You never feel like I shouldn't be having this meeting. They are really grateful just to give the time. And it's quite impressive for me.
And what do you like to do outside of work? What's your relaxation?
I run.
You run?
Yeah. I run and I made they're actually a fun fact. There's a group of runners in Bloomberg. So they kind of help you as well to find where in London would you run, or for example, the marathon in Boston coming in and give you tips and tricks of where to go, where to stay. So it's quite nice because you bring that sense of community with a hobby that you want. So that's quite nice. Yeah.
For me, I think going through just walking around London, for example, no matter which city I lived in, I always like discovering new places. And it doesn't have to be a big museum or anything. It could be just tiny gallery. Sort of discovering a new spot is usually my relaxation.
Favorite area of London to go and walk through?
At the moment is because I live around that area. The Maida Vale is my current hotspot. Yes.
Very cool. Very nice. I like it. Tell me a little bit about yourselves. Fill me in on your career, a few highlights and what you're doing now.
Sure. So I can start, I suppose. So I studied at Bloomberg nearly 13 years ago. As I mentioned earlier, I studied in Tokyo office as a Japanese English customer support representative. But before that, I sort of born and raised. I was in Japan till the age of 18. I left Japan. I went to Dublin to go to uni, and then I came back to Tokyo and joined Bloomberg. But so I joined Bloomberg in Tokyo, and then after a few years, I got relocated to London office to join data department to become one of the data analysts. And then from there, after a few years later, I found myself in Singapore office to join a recruitment team. And then from there, I was managing internship, early engagement programs for APAC regions. And then just over a month ago, I moved back to London to kind of oversee more of the global efforts around the internship and an early engagement space. So I've done a lot in Bloomberg, and it's quite exciting for me to be able to say that after nearly 13 years, like every day in the company, it's just so exciting. And then I haven't really had a time to feel bored, and it's probably the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just a bit of a myself around the career.
That's incredible that over that length of tenure, you're finding the excitement in the everyday,
Yeah.
even now.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And what about for you, Gabi, your story?
So, as I mentioned, I'm from Brazil. I lived there till I was 17. I moved to Australia for 2 years. Then I moved to Switzerland to do my uni when my parents moved there. While that time in Switzerland, I studied nothing too related with finance. So I did business management, focusing on hospitality. Lived in Barcelona for 6 months as an internship. And I've heard of Bloomberg because they also would come to my uni for career fairs, for example. And then in 2021, I applied for Bloomberg. And again, I was really hoping they said yes to me. And I started really similar background. So I also started in BCS, which is the customer support, as a Portuguese speaker. So I was able to work with supporting New York in terms of the Brazilian clients. And then after a while, I moved to analytics, which is basically the normal path that you will go through. And I focus on one of the major buy-side products that we have. So Port. And then after analytics, I then moved to, I specialized a bit further, which they called here an advanced. So I was the last point of contact to solve any sort of queries for that product. And then now full circle, I'm covering in sales now, covering London and Switzerland. So back to Switzerland, traveling with the team. It's very exciting.
It's really exciting, and still finding it exciting in the everyday.
Every day.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly new to the last role. So it is really exciting because every minute it's something different. But again, you never feel, it's a bit of a different feeling of starting a new role here, because it doesn't matter how small is your question, your whole team is always there to help you. And even in the travels, I've lived in Switzerland before, so I was already familiar with the area, but it's amazing how they make you feel so well and at home, even when you're traveling with a team. Because it is part of your personal and professional life as well. But it's amazing because you kind of become your small little family that travels. Maybe half of the month you're in Zurich, half of the month you're in London. So yeah, it's amazing and really exciting.
So that culture of working together closely, traveling together is encouraged.
100%. Sometimes you do meetings with someone in your team, so you spend the whole day with them. Other times, we have team dinners, so we all go for a meal together, which is great by the end of the day. And it's also, there's not that pressure. So if you just want to, have your own personal time and do your own thing, that's also okay. But usually at least once a week, we do one meal together as a team, which is really nice, especially when you're starting, I guess, because you really bond with the team. So it's amazing.
And do you find then that those bonds help in the work you're trying to do?
It does. It really does. I mean, I always thought about the fact that if you spend that amount of time in the office, you might as well, one, love what you do and love the people that you do with, because honestly, one of my closest friends are from this company, because you spend so much time together. And I think that the whole process of culture, we are all similar and very different in a sort of way. So you become almost instantaneously, you just become friends. And it's quite amazing that you get to do what you like for work, and then you get to hang out with your friends after.
And sometimes also when you're traveling to a completely new location, for example, but you know somebody in that particular office, for example, you might have never met in person, but you have worked before. And then it is true that we actually, during the holiday, we actually go to an office in that particular location to actually bring souvenirs, but also to say hello. And then I think that's quite unique
Yeah.
about like how closely we work together. And I
Even
always
even when you're on
enjoy that
holiday.
part. Yeah.
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 You go and pop
100%.
into a different office, meet some people you've worked with virtually.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny you mentioned that because one of the people I've met through just transferring calls in Brazil, who's in the technical support, is coming to London in May, and she messaged me and she's gonna come to the office.
Oh, I love that.
So I have friends as well that invited me to go to New York because we also worked in the same sort of projects. Because beside of your core role, you have many projects that you can be involved in, and you ended up working globally with people in APAC and also New York and in São Paulo office, for example. And then you become friends, so you absolutely go and see them if you're around New York or São Paulo or Tokyo.
And then they take you out for dinner and then they show you around the city. And then, yeah, that's how we
Perfect.
roll.
You've got a bit of a tour guide. You've got some
Exactly.
friends on your
Yeah.
trip. And what I'm hearing is that there aren't particularly many barriers. You know, you're traveling and you pop in, or there's no barriers. This is a colleague and this is a friend. It's very fluid and flexible in the way you work together.
I think you always have that element of respect, always, because that person works with you. But I would say that even it's not really defined in terms of you cannot speak with that person because that person is 3 roles above you. It's really not like that. You, if anything, you feel like, you know what, you should talk to that person because that person is really knowledgeable and got to that place. So you should exchange knowledgeable, and it's quite amazing how everyone is open to just have a catch up with you. We have the pantry here, which is basically everyone just goes there to chat and have meetings or lunch together. So yeah.
Amazing. And Anri, you mentioned the buzz of the culture. You could feel it as soon as you walked in, and you mentioned how you wanted Bloomberg to say yes to you so you could live that and work that. What was the reality when you went from interview stage, I'm hearing a lot about collaboration, it seems very collaborative, to actually embarking on a career here?
Yeah, it's very incredible that there's no differences in how I felt, and expectations in reality like literally matched. And then I think that's one of the reasons why I've been with the company for so long. And then, to be honest, this is my first company that I worked for, the only company that I worked for. So I'm very aware that I could be very biased here. But if for being the recruitment, I know like how the other companies could potentially operate too. But you know, I felt that sense of inclusiveness, and that really comes in reality here because of the fact that we are not here to do what we are told to do. We have this sort of bottom to up approach a lot of the times, and we have a lot of DNI communities, for example, which is not just like the senior managers saying that we need to do this, but each individual coming into this Bloomberg office, whether you're in London or Tokyo or Hong Kong, Shanghai, there are certain layers of we are trying to even go to an extra mile to make sure we have that inclusive environment in Bloomberg. And all of this is potentially, if you're not in the D&I team, one could just turn around and say, this is not my job. But every one of us take that responsibility around this needs to happen from each individual coming into this company. So that also expands another collaboration, right? You know what? This is what it means around being in minority. For example, when you were speaking, when you're in a meeting, right? You were dialing in from Singapore, and then the other persons in the meeting could be somebody from London and New York. And then a lot of the people could be native speakers, right? And then again, English is not my first language. Sometimes that inconfidence really kicks in, but the sense of understanding everybody in that room to be able to say, you know what, like, no, like, what do you think? And then being able to kind of create the room where I actually feel safe and comfortable to be able to share my opinions, regardless of whether you just started it like yesterday or after 13 years, is absolutely beautiful. And then that really kind of helped me to cave my career for this long. And I couldn't imagine when I look back, when I just graduating university, to be starting in Tokyo, moved to London and Singapore, and then I come back to London and looking after global internship program, that was not something that I could have ever imagined. So I think this environment that we have in Bloomberg really helped me to get there.
The environment's really enabled that
Yes,
journey for
100%.
you. Yeah, fantastic. And Bloomberg's working in over 65 countries, more than 18 languages, and it seems like that's used to Bloomberg's advantage rather than being a barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Is that the experience for you, Gabi?
I mean, I was hired as a Portuguese speaker, so my language actually gave me a big advantage to be here, which is something to be celebrated in as well. So, and then after as well, because I spoke a little bit of Spanish, I asked one of my team leaders if I could potentially start taking calls in Spanish, just so I could, have another language. And they absolutely supported me with, they gave me like mentors in the customer support side that were already, that they speak Spanish as their mother tongue. And then we would spend at least 2 hours of the week just speaking in Spanish so I could be comfortable with clients. So it's definitely something to be celebrated.
Fantastic. And for you, Anri, is that your experience?
Yeah. I don't really want to repeat everything. I'm 100% agreeing everything you're saying. And then I cannot emphasize enough around the environment that a Bloomberg creates that really resonated in everything that I do and it hold towards my personal values. And it, the level of confidence that I managed to gain, yes, being able to speak Japanese, both Japanese and English, it's definitely helped me to get into probably Bloomberg too. But at the very beginning, that was a bit of a struggle for me. What else can I do? So I think that was also another part of the journey that Bloomberg really helped me to find, right, language is just the foundation bit, right? What are the other area skill sets, problem solving? You might be doing this without even realize doing it, but that is actually what you're doing is project management skills. So like all of these realization, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then using that for the benefit of the organization in any region where it's needed.
Exactly.
Fantastic. And we talking about the culture and that collaborative nature of Bloomberg. What does collaboration mean to you personally? It's a bit of a buzzword. We use it a lot, but what does it mean to you?
I think it's been talked about a lot, and I think any organization at this stage probably say, "Oh, collaboration is what we do." And I think collaboration can be actually sometimes misunderstood, almost just as a means of just bringing people together. But I think, in my opinion, I think collaboration and what the focus is the innovation and in creativity that comes with the collaboration. I think that's the most important part. And unless you have the organically created a collaborative space, that innovation and creativity cannot be sort of stimulated, if that makes sense. So for me, it's that exciting part of that sort of leveraging the different knowledges and skill sets and in the backgrounds, all of these talents coming together and right, these are the solutions that we are trying to tackle and right, how do we want to approach? And then there's so many different ideas and right, so you know what, then I can actually code. So let me take that piece. So, it's sort of different way of tackling it, so almost coming up with the solutions. That piece is the most important part of the collaboration, and that excites me. Another part when it comes to collaboration for me is learning opportunity for me, right? Because I know very well that I may not be the most knowledgeable person in the room, and I know that I certain areas of, for example, I'm not a coder, so I might not know how to code. But this is actually exactly what happens when I was in data department. I was in a project, and then I was sort of the more on the, a person who was bringing a subject matter expertise. And there was another colleague in the team who was basically a coder. And then looking at what she was doing on a computer, and I was like, this is fascinating. And I actually want to do this. So I went in to Bloomberg University, which is one of the learning tools that we have that is available to all employees in Bloomberg. And then I started picking up coding skills. And now, again, don't get me wrong, I'm not a coder, but by the time I moved on to early career recruitment team, I was sort of writing like a simple code, but that was a revelation for me. So these kind of things of challenges, and while I'm feeling like, right, you know what, that is so cool. I don't know how I do it, but I want to do it. I want to gain that skills that she has or he has. And I think that piece of excitement of wanting to take that extra step to the next step for your own career, I think that also comes with the collaboration as well for me.
So part of it is taking those new skills and taking them on
Yeah.
from other people who are the experts in that area. What about for you, Gabi?
I agree. I think that obviously the meaning of collaboration, it's very, everyone would potentially know what it means. In terms of the culture and how collaboration is for Bloomberg, you can always just send an IB, which is our message, internal message, to anyone and just have a catch up and to talk to someone. And I think that's quite amazing. Even our meeting rooms, they're all open and they're all designed for the collaborative space. The way that we sit, they're all in circles. That's also designed as a collaborative space. So it's really, I think, again, you really feel when you enter the building, the whole collaborative spirit.
Yeah, it's collaborative by design. I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think there's so much, it's a very wide spectrum of what that looks like in Bloomberg. And I think that's why we do so well. That collaboration could happen in a meeting room. That could happen over just on a pantry catch up. And then, oh, what kind of project have you been working on? And then, oh, that sounds very cool. Let's do that together. So all of this really kind of brings that energy from each individual working here. Right. How can we actually work together? Yeah.
And that's that organically created
Yes.
collaboration you mentioned. How does Bloomberg do that? Being an organization of the size it is, over 21,000 employees, yet there's this organically created culture of collaboration. How do you see that?
I think each individual coming here is definitely contributing to that particular culture, but also the usage of a different technology as well. Obviously, we are in the fintech world where we're utilizing different type of technology that is available externally, but also internally. You know, just like Gabi mentioned about you using instant Bloomberg. You know, it's not just about formally, right, let me put a meeting with you. You know, it's not just that, like using a chat system, hey, you know. So I think the usage of the technology is one thing. And then I think that, but the people carrying through that culture. And then I think this is why when it comes to Bloomberg interviews process as well, it's not just about what the one individual is bringing in, but how this person is a teamwork, how, like, what kind of roles do you play in the team, and then etc. So there's always that aspect of sort of, you know, doing the selection process as well, that we want to make sure that we are not creating any sort of a competitive environment, like one, it's not only caring about one's performance or anything like that. And that's not how it works at all in Bloomberg. So I think those are the areas that we are also being very careful and mindful as well.
So doing it through making sure the people that you're gathering and employing are those caring types that aren't just in it for themselves or in it for the competition, haven't got the big ego, but want to collaborate.
I agree. I think that the whole process of the recruitment process, it's more of a screening in terms of your attitude. And if you have that right attitude of, hey, I might not have the financial background, but this is the attitude I bring to the company. And I feel that when you get the right people in and you start, for example, my first meeting with my team leader, for example, we always made sure that we went through all of my struggles, all of the things that I could do. If I was struggling in something, a mentor would be assigned to me, someone that would be my peer and help me with it. So I think that it's through the recruitment process, but also you foster that culture throughout all of the projects that you do here, because that's going to be a piece that is celebrated and never an individual achievement, for example.
And how do you make connections beyond your immediate teams? You mentioned the pantry and that being a collaborative space. Are there other areas in which you make connections and network?
As an entry level, for example, coming by my experience in terms of the customer support and also in the analytics, both of them, you start in a cohort of maybe 20 to 30 people, and that these people just become your best friends, because some of the people, they just moved to London or to New York or to Tokyo. They haven't lived in the city before, like just my case was that. You spend, maybe 8 hours, 9 hours with these people, and then you go for dinners, you go for birthdays, you start fostering that relationship outside of work as well. Which is really nice, because in the beginning you're literally in the classroom. So you have teachers, which is going to teach you all of, the process, everything that you need to know. And it's kind of the continuation of university that you're craving it. Because I don't know about you, but when you're done with uni, you're like, okay, great, I'm going to move to a new city. This is going to be so difficult for me to make friends, because you have those 4 years that you spend with all of your friends. And here it was just the continuation of it, because you have still all of these people that are sharing the same experience as you. And again, they're somehow similar or somehow very different, which makes it very interesting. So I think like that. And also if you're proactive and you go, for example, for the team meetings, for the socials that we have Portuguese social meetings, Spanish social meetings. So everything I think is that it's to be celebrated. Another example in terms of the DNI, last year we had a cultural day, which everyone would bring a dish that is from your country. And I've met new people that I haven't met by being here for 2 years, just on that 2 hour span, just talking about their culture, their food, sharing as well my knowledge about that culture or something like that. So besides your core role, there's so much more that is going to bring everyone together. So as long as you have the right attitude and you're proactive, there's literally nothing else you need to do. The connections will come with time.
Yeah, perfect. And did you bring a Brazilian dish to the
Yes.
party? What did you bring?
I brought carrot cake with brigadeiro on top. So if
Oh,
you're
fantastic.
Brazilian, you will know.
Yeah,
That
very
that's the
sweet
best.
brigadeiro. I know that much.
Yeah, it's so good. But exactly, so most of the Europeans think that brigadeiro is really sweet. So that's
Not
why
to a Brazilian.
I brought with the carrot cake, because then it kind of breaks a little bit.
Yeah.
For me is, well, one, I'm very good with remembering faces. Being in a recruitment team, I should be very good with remembering names, but more for the faces. So, for example, like the event that Gabi was talking about, and you may not necessarily got to know very well of this person, but you are getting that introduction done in the event. And then the following week, for example, you're walking around the pantry and you recognize a person. And then more often than not, people could be kind of shy away from actually walking up and say hi, right? I tend to do that a lot. Hey, we were at the event together last week. Do you remember? And then, that's how I also tend to get to kind of expand my network as well. And then also, in Bloomberg, we do a lot of volunteering work, and that is a very, very important part of our culture. And all of us are, wearing that Bloomberg and volunteering T-shirts, and sometimes going to plant trees in the jungle in Singapore, or picking up trashes on the beaches and stuff. And then that's also when the people, they can bring in the different employees from different teams to the specific volunteering. And in those areas, and there are certain times that, oh, I've seen this person, but I've never spoken before. So then it's kind of gives me an sort of opportunity. Say, hey, like I know I've seen you a lot in the pantry, but have we talked before? And then sort of get that conversation going, and then that becomes the first time, then the second time, third time, and naturally, then that kind of gives you that grows your network, and then when you meet this person, the another time, and then this person, oh, do you know this person? And then that's also kind of almost like a chain reaction of making friends in the office. That's I tend to do a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think 2 points in terms of the whole collaboration outside of work as well. So for sure the DNI, the Bob events that we do. So the Best of Bloomberg, which you can volunteer during your work hours, or also after, or also on a Saturday or Sunday, depending of what you would like to do. You ended up working with lots of people from different departments. So for example, sometimes it can be a manager of a group, or sometimes it can be an engineer that you would never have maybe working together because they work on a different division of the company. So that is really nice. And also speaking as because I'm in the traveling team, when you are in the different offices around Europe or around the globe, you don't sit with your team, you sit with all of the people that are going to that city to travel with. So that's quite nice, because sometimes you're sitting with someone that you've never seen before and you're like, oh, hi, my name is Gabi. What do you do? And it's something completely different, like BNEF, so the sustainable energy, or someone that you usually wouldn't have contact with. And that's quite easy as well, because then the next day you already are all having dinner all together, because the whole Bloomberg team is gonna go there. So that's quite nice as well, because you get to work with people that usually you wouldn't work with, or sit with people that you usually wouldn't sit with.
Yes, there's lots of these moments that facilitate connection, and places, whether it's the space that you're in, or the kind of thing, the events that are running, the communities as well. There's these points of contact and reminders of, oh, I saw you at that event. Let's properly connect. Are there particular events that you've been to, Anri, where you found it really impactful and you've made a really meaningful connection that's impacted your career?
Yeah. So Bloomberg hosts a lot of events, not just from the social volunteering side, but also from the learning perspectives. And when I talk about learning, it's not just about soft skills and the hard skills, but really more around the cultural awareness as well. One of the events, well, more like a training session that I had the privilege to go to, is for me to be able to learn and then understand the journey Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community has gone through in what we call Australia today, and then what sort of systematic impact is still to this day is affecting the First Nations community. When I still remember that training very well, and then this was about almost 5 years ago. When myself and then a few other colleagues came out from a training session, and first we were lost with words. We weren't quite sure around how we can express things. And then that's sort of, for me, turned straight to anger towards myself around how did I not know this? I've been working with a lot of employees in Australia and ended up doing a lot of recruitment events, and then a sort of lack of my knowledge about the history. And then that really resonated with other colleagues of mine as well. So from there, what we sort of came up with is what can we actually do? So we kind of started working with employees in Sydney office and in Melbourne, as well as some of the philanthropic partner organizations such as Go Foundation, how we can actually help create an opportunity for especially First Nation students, whether that leads to employment with the Bloomberg or beyond. It's really more around acknowledging what their strengths are and how can we actually use almost like seasonal old talents that we have in Bloomberg, and then it help to keep through the path for them. So, and that event, what made me realize is that this is what Bloomberg is great about, is we're not just here to provide data, news to the clients, but as this global massive organization, what we can actually do, what is the right thing to do, what can we utilize all of these great talents and investments and resources that we have to actually give back to society and the community that we work in. And then technically the program then we launched, what we call Bloomberg Launch Mentorship Program in Sydney, is not necessarily just about the recruitment for Bloomberg, right? But it's the giving back side. And then that was a part of the biggest sort of passionate project and then the work that I had a biggest privilege that I got to do. But sort of that sense of reality of, right, what is the right thing that I can do? And then sort of that concept on and that idea has always been with the Bloomberg, but that training and then the sort of outcome of that had a massive impact on how I actually want to operate and then work in this company.
And Gabi, could you tell me a little bit more about communities at Bloomberg? What
Yes.
are those?
I actually, just going back in terms of the event and also kind of linking to your question, one of the events that we had internally was management speaking about mental health. And it's so important because sometimes you have this image like, okay, this person that has been here for 20 years, there's no way this person is stressed now. There's no way, like, or they wouldn't talk about, or they would not be open about. And it's so nice because it's so relatable, and they wanted to create a safe space to everyone that is in that department or in other departments to talk about their mental health or any sorts of struggles that it would impact their work or personal life. So opening that door to people, it kind of opens to me the kind of management style that I wish to have one day. In terms of the communities, for example, I'm part of the D&I task force for sales, and this is some of the events that we organize. We would have, for example, newsletters with resources on mental health and all of the resources that Bloomberg gives to the employees that maybe we're not aware of. We also do, for example, the cultural day with the exchange of the foods and culture and knowledge. We also do some sort of fast friends. So it's basically a speed dating where you speak with different people from the company, and we have little flashcards where you're going to talk about with someone, and you never know. Sometimes it's someone that just started in the company 6 months ago, and sometimes it's someone who's been here for 30 years, and you wouldn't potentially speak with that person on a normal day to day. So yeah, we have many sort of events, internal events, to promote that sense of belonging and collaboration.
Perfect. And it's time for our quickfire round now. So,
Okay.
my first question in our quickfire round is, what parts of the office do you like the most? I'm thinking maybe you might not even go for London. You might be thinking of another office.
I am.
Yeah.
I've got two though. Can I
Go
give
for
you
two.
two?
Go on.
The rooftop terrace in Sydney office, the most
It would
beautiful
be my
view.
favorite too if
Ah,
I
That
had the
sounds great,
opportunity
doesn't
to
yes.
be there.
And then the other one will be the lunchroom view from Tokyo office, looking off over Imperial Palace, sort of entire Tokyo. It's breathtaking.
That sounds stunning.
I feel like my answer just got very boring. So let me just elaborate the fact that we have some polls as well in the pantry.
Yeah, from London. You can see it. Next question in the quickfire round is, what is your go-to snack when you're in the office?
I find that London snacks are a little bit too healthy for my liking.
Okay, what are you looking for?
So Tokyo office I think Tokyo office has the best pantry snacks. One of them, I would love you to try. I might bring you some next time.
I'd love
It's called
that.
jagariko.
Okay.
It's like a potato, like a fried potato, like little thin sticks, but there's specific flavor called salad flavor. And it's actually this salad flavor is very Japanese thing, I think. But once you have it, you can't
Sounds
go
like it's
back.
got to be tried. I trust
Mhm.
you. I trust
Yes.
you.
I agree with you with the London ones. So the Zurich ones is definitely Twix, or I'm gonna butcher this, Lindt. I don't know if that's how.
Like Lindt chocolate?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, I've never seen Lindt chocolate here.
There they have
Oh, okay.
plenty. I take 20 of them on my desk.
Maybe that's why I don't see it. It's all on your desk.
I need both of these snacks next time you're visiting. Yeah, I need those brought back. The next question, tell us someone interesting you bumped into in the office at Bloomberg.
It has to be Mike for me. I'm still in awe when I see him. It's like, hi, I work here.
Is that what you said?
No.
What
but
did you say?
He's extremely very, very nice. Once I was taking the elevator and he was in the elevator and he was like, I was with a Pret cup and he was like, you don't like the coffee here? Like, bad time. No.
Oh.
And then I said, no, I really like the coffee here, but I was just in a client meeting. He's like, oh, okay then. So, but it was just very nice and
That's a
attentive
good
that he
answer.
even noticed.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I feel like I've always been traveling to a different offices when somebody exciting was in the office. But I also have to agree with you, probably Mike Bloomberg.
I've seen him a couple of times.
Yes.
It never gets old. I'm always starstruck.
Every time Mike Bloomberg goes to some different offices, they also do a photo shoot with their employees. Now, I've been here again nearly 13 years. I haven't had the opportunity yet. Every time he comes over for the shoot, I'm in the different offices. But this year, this summer, that's my one goal.
And final question in the quickfire round. Why are there fish in the office?
No clue.
It's relaxing. It's the noises. Apparently that kind of gives employees a very sense of zen and relaxation.
It does. It does
Right?
do that.
Yeah.
It does
I mean,
do
who
that.
doesn't want to look up the fish that is swimming around?
Well done on the quickfire round. Very good answers from both of you. Short,
Definitely
snappy.
wasn't short.
Short enough. Short enough. I'll take it. Very well done. We're going to touch briefly before we come to a close on your work, on what you're doing now day to day, and how you're collaborating within that. So, how is collaborating key to what you do?
Everything. I think there's no single person in this office who says collaboration is not a key for get things done. But especially for what I do, because I'm sort of overseeing all the internship, right? And then if you think about all the summer interns coming in, we are not just doing an internship in just one location. We're doing in the internship in Mumbai, New Delhi, Sydney, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and then to New York, San Francisco, the list goes on. And in order to make that happen, a lot of different teams, whether that is in a sales, people from sales who's actually getting interns, analytics, from even within the HR functions, we need to also then working with immigration team to legal to the list honestly goes on, and so this whole recruitment process takes a village to make sure that we're doing the right thing, we're bringing the right people, but also we are providing the right opportunity for those talents that are coming in. So being able to work with various business units is extremely important and crucial. But also for me, knowing who works where and what do they do, that's also very key for me. So that when certain things happens, I know exactly who I need to reach out. I probably not going to be the only person who can solve certain things. This is why the collaboration is going to be extremely key.
And for you, Gabi, working with your clients in
Exactly.
sales.
So the way that it works on my on the sales department is basically you are responsible for basically the relationship management of your clients, but within an entity, they might be using Bloomberg, but they might be using other products together with Bloomberg. So everything that is related with any other product, for example, I would have to work with that other person. Actually, when we talked about the organic of the of collaboration and Bloomberg and how that's actually celebrated, even in sales, one of the metrics that you have, it's if I'm with you in one of the meetings and I'm helping you, that also counts towards something for me. So it's also something that we are evaluated in. So it's highly encouraged. Once
It's
again,
incentivized, essentially.
exactly. So that's how we work. I also work very closely with my representative sales, who is going to be basically the person in my team that we're basically going to travel together, do all of the meetings together, do all those strategies together. And then obviously our team leader, who then will also work together with us, and other teams that has any other products, for example, for Bloomberg that has to do with our clients. So everything related with something that is not the terminal itself, for example, they would help us.
So collaboration, hugely important for what you do. Is there anything that's been a particular impact that's come out of collaborating that you've seen where if you hadn't collaborated, it just wouldn't have happened in that way or wouldn't have been as impactful?
The way that how we are running our internship, then I think also because of the collaboration and because of that, probably my role is currently exist. I think this is kind of goes back to COVID-19. So I always knew how we operated, the collaboration and global element, that I was very much aware of that. But during the COVID-19 was truly when I honestly felt, wow, we are working on a global level. And what I mean is that, right, COVID-19 hit, especially Singapore was one of the first countries to go complete lockdown and shut down. We were all working from home. And then during that time is usually when we are very busy with, right, how the planning for summer interns coming. And then gradually, one by one, each offices started each country started shutting down. And then now we are thinking about, right, how do we run internship virtually? We're always talking about face-to-face interaction, a pantry and then everything, right? How can we actually create an environment for interns to come in, but virtually come in and feel this sense of inclusiveness and everything that I've talked about earlier when the day I came into this office. So how can we actually do this was extremely sort of, at the very beginning was, we've never done this before. But then that's when we started getting on a call, and there were people from, I was in Singapore at the time. There's people from Tokyo, London, New York, and then we are coming together to solve this challenge that world was still trying to make sense of what is happening. And then the way that we actually did global internship that year, what we came out is that there's a lot of great things happening in the pockets of world when it comes to Bloomberg internship, and almost incorporating about, right, this is great. And then this is the certain global alignment that we can introduce while celebrating the local nuances. And then a lot of the project that came out during that virtual internship, we actually carried on when we are now in a fully recovered world. So I think without that COVID-19, I hate to say this, but certain things that we are currently doing and we do so well in the internship might not have sort of come out in the way that it should. So, that truly felt like the collaboration kind of brought a great result in that sense. Yeah.
For me, I don't think I would have gotten the job I have today if it wasn't for collaboration. I started working with the team prior to joining officially, and not only helping them with sort of meetings in terms of the products that I was specializing in, but they helping me massively with all of the knowledge gaps that maybe I felt at the time that I needed, and they would all take the time, sit down with me, explain to me, in terms of knowledge, in terms of how I feel about the job, to calming myself in for the role, because it's very, very normal for you to just be stressed in the role and traveling all the time. And they somehow made all of this so calm and relaxing, as if you are doing the right thing. This is where you're supposed to be. And I think that both of us, so everyone in my team and myself, starting working together, collaborating together, that basically changed the outcome that I luckily have today.
And it seems like both of you are making a huge impact, both as a sales leader and as a program leader in the early careers team. What's your best advice from everything you've learned in collaborating with others, in the work you do, in the regions you've been in? What's your one bit of advice that we can take away from how to collaborate?
I would say is your attitude. So everything is just going to happen how it was supposed to happen if you have the right attitude. In Bloomberg, that's what we value. If you want to go to a department where you don't have the background or you don't have the knowledge, we will support you to get there. That's fine. Everyone can learn, and we're going to put the efforts into you to learn. But we cannot teach you to have the right attitude. And once you do that, that's spot on. That's all you need.
Yeah, probably relating to that as well. I think the humbleness, especially like, you know, as you kind of start building your career for long, and then sometimes you feel like, you know what, I know this, but you may not know the full picture. So going into a certain area, a certain room, knowing that I'm not going to be the person who knows everything, that humbleness, wanting to continue to learn from other people, I think that's very, very important part of the collaboration part.
Well, both of you, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you both.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed this episode, do give it a like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. There's more information in the episode description below, and check out the rest of the series for more fantastic guests from Bloomberg. But on behalf of me, Chris Lisserman, and my guests today, Anri, Gabi, thank you and see you next time.